Hi, everyone. Welcome back to whatever show this is called this week. I know that it's been a really short time since you've seen me last, and hearing my annoying voice twice in 1 week is not what you planned on getting into. And also at 5 p.m. on a weekday is also not what anyone is used to. But if we're going to be talking about the wonderful, crazy, awesome John McAfee, why not have it be weird, right? So we have Spike, aka Blue Shirt Cohen, on today with us as someone who did interview McAfee with me multiple times, wearing a blue shirt, because that is how McAfee referred to Spike. He would not call him by his name. He acted like he did not even know who Spike was and just called him Blue Shirt. So we have him with us, and then we also have Avens O'Brien, and Avens is super awesome. Her boyfriend, her longtime boyfriend, was actually John McAfee's running mate in 2016 when he ran for the Libertarian Party nomination for president. And so she has lots of other fun, crazy stories about John McAfee. So what we're not going to do today is we're not going to talk about things that are super negative, things that have not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So if you're here to listen to that stuff, that's not going to be what we're talking about. We are going to talk about our friend who just passed away, and we're going to talk about fun things. So we have Spikel and we have Avens. Thanks for wearing a blue shirt today, Spike.
Thank you. Well, I will, and I am, and apparently now shall forever remain Blue Shirt or Blue Shirt Man. Those were the two variations of what John would always refer to me as Blue Shirt or you, Blue Shirt Man. So that's. Thank you for having me. And yes, I would never dream of doing a show like this not wearing a blue shirt.
And Avens, thank you so much. I know that it's earlier in the day where you are in your beautiful home in LA, but thanks for coming.
It's really early.
It's 2:00, but yes, I did just wake up like 20 minutes ago.
Avens is a night owl.
I did go to bed at 8 a.m. Yes, so nice. I got 5 hours of sleep, and then I got on this show.
Nice.
So,
well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Again, like I said, McAfee has been on this show a few times. Actually, we are the only show that he asked to do. Like, he asked to come on the second time. He reached out to us, and his lovely wife Janice reached out to us specifically because John loved the show so much and the experience of it that he wanted to come back. This was, of course, after he had proposed to both Jess and I, after asking Janice if it was okay, and then shortly after threatening to kill or assault us. So if that is not a proposal by John McAfee, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and he also, in addition to that, he had also said that he wished to be my blood brother for life. This was both before and after threatening to assault and or kill all three of us. Just to give you an idea of what that episode was like. That's kind of a good microcosm of what the rest of the episode was like. There was a lot of talk about drugs too. I know that shocks everyone.
He yelled at me because I asked him what the best drug to do was, and he's like, I thought you were smart. And up until this point, I liked you. I thought everything was cool. But you asked me the dumbest question anyone could ever ask. What's the best drug? No. The question is, what's the best drug when you're having sex? What's the best drug when you're doing this or doing that? And I apologized, of course, and told him he was absolutely right. That was the dumbest question that I've ever asked anyone. We convinced him that we didn't know who Ayn Rand was.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's our favorite. So, Avens, I know you have much more interesting stories. We don't have nearly as many as you do, but we're going to shoot our shot right now with all of our best ones. I'm on the bus in Flint, Michigan, about 2 or 3 hours from doing an event. This will be my second bus tour event. So I'm still kind of trying to get into the motions of how that's going to go and, and everything else. And I had to put my dog down 2 days prior. And it was just a really weird time. And so I'm just trying to stay in the moment as much as possible and not get overwhelmed. And Chrissy, we had already, like, I think days before, weeks before, scheduled this thing with John McAfee. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to just dive into the land of the absurd for about an hour, and that should help like reset me. And it did, because we sat there and tried to troll John McAfee. So like usually he comes on a show and tries to troll he trolls the interviewer who's trying to ask the tough questions, and he's just got him going every which way. We did the opposite. We asked him what seemed like serious questions and then acted like complete morons who knew nothing when he would answer it. And so we did this over and over again. So for example, when he mentioned that there were so many people that, you know, called themselves, I forget what the subject, but something along the lines of all these people, and they haven't even read Ayn Rand. And both of us, without even skipping a beat, were like, Ayn
Rand? What? No.
Yeah.
Rand? Like Rand Paul?
Yeah, she said like Rand Paul. And he goes, what are you talking about? And we're like, Ayn. And he said, Atlas Shrugged. And we're like, I don't know. Is this like a movie? Like, we just pretended we had no clue what he was talking about. And so we actually started like, okay, let's write this down. Ayn Rand.
Sounds like she might be somebody important someday.
Yeah, we were like, we'll look it up. And so it ended with him saying, whatever you do, for God's sake, read Ayn Rand. And we're like, okay, Ayn Rand. So that's
he was pretty upset that we didn't know.
Yeah, he was
That's
not
amazing.
Happy. You call yourselves libertarians and you've never heard of Ayn Rand.
Oh,
and we're like,
amazing.
Never came up.
So I know you probably have way better stories, Avens. Would you like to throw one in?
No, you know what I love, by the way, is like, so yesterday, like Jed and I got the news, and it was just like, you know, we're getting inundated with messages, and I decided for some reason to watch your video, like I think it was the first interview you did with him, which involved Jess asking him if he like what he saw when he looked into her soul. And it was so funny because like I'm watching this interview, and then Judd walks in and he's like, oh yeah, I was just on the phone with so and so, you know, and I like paused the interview, but he's like, wait, what are you watching? Wait, is that, oh, that's Spike? Oh, that's Chrissy, like, you know, and he's like, who's like oh, it's John, what the fuck? And so we start watching it, and it was great because it was actually like this moment for us to kind of enjoy like John being John. Judd had not seen the interview before. I had. And so you know, we're just enjoying John going on. And then like Jess asked that question about, can you see to my soul and what do you see? And Judd's kind of like, where's this going? And then John just starts with his whole like, I see, you know, and just starts talking to her. And he's like, oh my God, it was so funny because I think like Judd got like the laugh cry kind of thing going. I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is the guy. Like it was, I think it was very cathartic for him. Yeah, I wanted to thank you for that. No, I mean, John, oh my God, John was nuts. I told this story yesterday, but to somebody else. The thing is, like, I love and respect the fuck out of John. John was like one of the smartest people I've ever met. He was absolutely batshit crazy in all the best ways. But like, you know, the night I met him we did a fundraiser for him here in our beautiful LA home. And he, and like, it was a nice fundraiser. Like we were all dressed up, you know, everyone's in suits, like, you know, I'm in this nice dress, and he saw me, and the dress I was wearing was a halter top. So it had my tattoos showing. And so like, he saw my tattoos. He's like, oh, do you mind? And so first, I love the fact that he asked before he tried to touch my tattoos or move the strap to see my tattoos. Because a lot of people don't fucking do that, and it's fucking rude. But he he asked, and I was like, John McAfee is a gentleman. And then he sees my tattoo. He's like, wow, these are really beautiful. And then, okay, he's wearing a fucking suit with a tie and everything. He just starts like loosening his tie, taking off. He's like, I've got tattoos too. And he starts taking off his shirt. Like he starts literally like unbuttoning his shirt. He does like the Superman thing. And he's like, look, see, check out my tattoos. Look at that. Like, and he's trying to show me his tattoos while like there's like donors, and we're trying to like be like a nice upscale event. And I'm like, John, how do you put your shirt back on? You can show me later. It's fine. Like, just show me later. Like, no, okay, you're going to show me. And so then like, I'm trying to like fix him before like pictures and stuff. And I'm like, okay, okay. Yeah, you look nice now. I'll check out your tattoos later. That's great. And then I want to say like 8 months later, he came to our house for another like fundraising event. It was after the election. He had just started with a new company. He was doing some kind of like fundraiser event thing. And he came over, and it was Janice's birthday, and he was not with Janice at the time. Like Janice was back in, I want to say, Tennessee. And so he was here. And so he asked Judd, he's like, is there a private room where I could like just hang out for a little bit? I need to do something. And Judd's like, okay, fine. And this guy comes into the house, and like they go into this room alone together. Like they go into a room alone together, and he and there's like people upstairs, like we're having, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but John is like alone for like 20 minutes or something like that with this guy. And he comes back and he's like, well, it's Janice's birthday, and I can never forget Janice's birthday. I'm not allowed to. And then he shows us that the guy is a tattoo artist who got a tattoo of like Janice's name. It just said like, this is, I try to remember what it said. It said something like, this is the boss, or this is the person whose birthday you can never forget, or something like that. Like he had it branded into his skin. Like he had it tattooed into his skin. Like, this is the date, never forget it. This is the most important day of your life, Janice's birthday. And he got that tattooed in our house in like the spare room, like in the office. Like, it's like, I this is my penance for missing Janice's birthday to be with a bunch of, people in LA.
That's
like,
funny.
you could have flown Janice out for it, but no, get a tattoo of her. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's John.
I totally thought you were gonna like go into like how he was like cooking some meth in the back room.
Yeah, I
that's the thing, is that like John, I'm sure that plenty of John's wild stories were true. I completely believe some of them to my core, but also John was actually like far sweeter than people would give him credit for. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, like I want you to think that I'm gonna murder you, but actually I'm gonna be really sweet and nice in this moment. And I swear to God, like that was just kind of his MO. Like, let me freak everyone out, let me like scare people, let me think that something bad's gonna happen, and then like, hey, actually this is a really great time. Like I'm not like, he came to our house and didn't do any drugs. He just had like a fucking orange juice with vodka.
I like this is a testament to the bravery of you and Judd, that John McAfee comes to your house and says, I'm going to need a private room of yours for a bit, and this guy's going to come with me. I'd be like, nah, man, all my rooms are public. Sorry, I can't help you. We don't have any private rooms. Every room's got cameras. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry about that. So, I mean, thankfully it worked out well. He was just, getting a tattoo, but I'd probably be like, nah, I'd be like a parent. I'd be like, now you got to leave the door cracked open. You can't
right?
Leave room for Jesus. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, John. We trusted John. That's yeah. John. You know what? John he inspires a lot of trust in the people who are like closest to him, which is funny because the people who are closest to him know when he's lying. Like I love John, and John never lied. It was all a disinformation campaign. But he was all about this. He was like, no, this isn't lying. This is a disinformation campaign. But the thing is that like strangely, the people closest to John always like trusted him the most in a different way. It's not in the kind of I have no idea if half the things he told me were true. But what the thing is, and this is my sentimental moment of the segment, is that John was one of the sweetest people in terms of like John believed like unequivocally in second chances. And so a lot of the people that I met in 2016 that worked alongside John were people who had like some kind of history. Of course, like Janice, he talks about the fact that Janice was a prostitute when he met her. But there was also like this guy that was his bodyguard who was like, I think he had like some kind of like criminal charges against him at some point or served time in prison or whatever. And he was his bodyguard. His name is also John, which made it very confusing when we were like, hey, can you tell John which John? Like it was a thing. But the thing was is that there were all these people around John who had like, sex work histories, drug histories, literally, like convictions in court or had gone to court about something, whatever. And like, they would come to John and they'd be like, I'd love to work with you, but I've got this thing on my record. And John would be like, come work for me. I trust you. I believe in you. Like you should have the second chance to you are of value to me. I know that the world has decided that you're not of value because you have this criminal history, you have this like background in sex or drugs or whatever. Like, but he was like, no, that just means that you're going to be even like more like devoted to this job. And so he instilled so much loyalty in people. Like there were people who, I swear to God, his bodyguard was like a Secret Service agent who would literally have taken a bullet for him if he needed to, because like, like it just, like he looked at people who had, you know, who'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, there's this blight on my record. And he'd be like, that's not a blight. That's beautiful. Like that's just a birthmark. It's all right. It's all okay. You're fine. Like, and he just made people feel like you are a value. You can do something for me. Like show me what you know, just bring something. I want to appreciate it. And I want it to work for me, and let's work together. And it was so awesome. It was literally my favorite thing about him, in terms of like he just like literally believed that everyone should have a second chance to do something awesome and important and be something of value to somebody else. And it was fucking great. Like that's genuinely like his craziness, miss that like crazy, but that's the stuff that makes me go like, Miss John, you know, like, because it was so sweet. He was so fucking sweet. And sorry, I'm done with him. There we go. That was my sentiment.
We're not allowed to have emotions on this show.
I know.
No
I know.
You're like, I know.
No feelings. We don't have feelings.
Yeah.
No.
I'll just do more drugs. It's fine.
Only drugs, no feelings.
Only drugs, no feelings.
So that's what this show is now called for this episode, is all drugs, no feelings. I don't do drugs, so I'm just not feeling anything. You know,
you wear a blue shirt. It's important.
I'm a blue shirt. I'm not even a person, so I don't have, how can I have feelings? My other really funny story, and then I actually want to ask you about something you talked about, Avens. This was again when I was on the bus, and this was the episode where we decided that John had trolled us the first episode and left us completely gobsmacked and befuddled as to what just happened. So we were going to return the favor to him, a few months later. And so, you know, he started talking about, and maybe he was trolling us here, actually, come to think of it, because we were talking about, you know, running for office, and if he was upset that he hadn't gotten the vice presidential nomination. Now, here I am, the one who did get it, right? Like, I got the vice presidential nomination, and I'm now campaigning across the country. And he's like, no, what kind of idiot would want that? He's like, what moron would go and dress up in a big suit and tie every day and go around the country and say a bunch of nonsense about running for office? And I'm like, yeah, especially like the White House. And he's like, yeah, exactly. And he's like, what kind of idiot would do that? I'm like, the biggest schmuck on earth, of course. And so that was, and again,
on the campaign bus.
On the campaign bus, literally right before he had come on, we had shown like the bus because it had just been unveiled. And so I was showing people like the outside of the bus and like the rooms and stuff like that. God. And then he comes on and he's like, only a moron would do any of that. And I'm like, yeah, idiots. And so the thing I never got was if he didn't actually know who I was, because it said Spike Cohen. Like, it said Spike Cohen, and we made references to my VP run while he was on there. And we talked about how we were both running for the same thing on Twitter and by Zoom and things like that. So I feel like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he never registered who I was as a person, but I feel like he had to have known who I was. So either he was committed to the troll, or this was a great opportunity to insult me, or he just truly had no idea who I was, which honestly, any of those three are equally plausible, I think.
Yeah. It was really, really funny, and I'm really glad he did that. But yeah, like you said, like, I really want to know what his angle was, and if he did actually believe it was you, or like didn't believe it was, I don't know. But now we'll never know, thanks to the US tax system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of people, you know, they're going back and forth. I bet people are split probably 50-50 on if McAfee was, if he did commit suicide, or if he was killed by a government agent. However, regardless on whatever way you believe, the U.S. tax system killed him. Yeah, because that's why he was in prison.
Yep. Yeah, he would have whether he killed himself, whether he was killed by someone, whether he just, here's another thing that a lot of people haven't said. John was a 75-year-old man with a long history of drug use who wasn't getting proper medical care and was under a very stressful situation. He could have just died. It's possible that he just died. In any of those three scenarios, the reality is, if it had not been for the U.S. tax system, he would have been home or wherever with his wife where he belonged, so that if he were going to die that same day, he would have had spent his final days with his wife. If he had, continued to live on, he'd be spending it with his wife right now. He'd be spending it where he wanted to spend it, as opposed to, in a Spanish jail for the rest of his life, or until he gets extradited. And that's because of a system of theft under the U.S. government.
Yeah, and I know that there's been other allegations, but the only ones that he was being criminally charged for was tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
And so a nonviolent crime that he was in jail for, that the Spanish officials picked him up because the U.S. asked them to. That's fucked. But, all because of those charges. And, I think it was Edward Snowden or someone had tweeted yesterday saying, like, people would rather die than be subject to the U.S., the U.S. justice system. And that's absolutely true. I mean, people would rather die than have to go through that. And as, and I'm sure Avens can touch on this more, as someone who's had more than one conversation with this guy, who I like, Avens, he's brilliant. He's a brilliant guy. Like, he's really smart. He's very socially intuitive.
Yeah. Which you don't often get in tech intelligent people. You don't often get like people who are also socially intelligent. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. Definitely, I'm glad you jumped in with that, because that's true. Like, in the tech environment, there's not. I mean, most of them they're nerds. They don't know how to talk to people. He was a nerdy, brilliant, outgoing person, and he's very, very apt. He's very aware of how things work and how people are going to think. So I would definitely imagine that he would be tweeting and posting for years and months and however long, saying that if he ever dies by suicide, it's actually the government, and then actually kill himself because he wants what we're doing right now. And I'm really glad to give this to him, and as his last wish is to create chaos, to create conspiracies, and to blame the U.S. government. But regardless, it's the government's fault. But this is exactly what he wanted. Like, Avens, she had sent a tweet that someone had, but that's exactly like what we had talked about yesterday, is like from your many, many interactions with him, this is par for the course, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So as I said, John never lied. It was just all disinformation campaigns. And the thing, it was so funny. No, I'm dead serious. That's what he always said. But like, I sent Chrissy like a list of like ones I could remember. And it's funny because I just remembered a couple of other ones, but hold on, I'm going to actually pull up this list, Chrissy, because it was so John, but I remember, it almost feels, I almost feel bad going like, hey, so just so you know, there were two sides of this story. Cause I like the chaos. I like the fact that he had all sorts of different excuses for things. But like in 2017, he was supposed to speak at Freedom Fest, and he never showed up for his speaking appearance. And then Janice posted on Twitter and was like, there was an attempt on his life. And I had been there when his staff got the news, like, hey, he's not coming, because he got rushed to the hospital, and he'd gotten rushed to the hospital because of like a blood clot. And so like, I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, don't say anything. And then like Janice comes out and says like, an attempt was made on his life. And I remember like turning to, I think I was hanging out with Yakov Markel at the time. And I turned to Yakov and I was like, well, I guess God was trying to kill him. Like, just like he's got this, like, okay, he's got a blood clot. Okay, like whatever. But like there was just this thing like, hey, like it wasn't a blood clot. Like someone was trying to kill him. And then I think he had gotten pulled over for like a DUI because he was on Xanax or something. Like this was a few years back. And like and so he got like arrested for a DUI for being on Xanax while driving. But his story to the police, which was not corroborated by any actual report, was that he had been in a shootout with the police. And you think the police would have mentioned that, so he's like, yeah, I was in the shootout with the police. No, as far as I know, he was just like on Xanax and they pulled him over. What was the, so I mean, in 2012 he acknowledged that he had faked a heart attack in a Guatemalan prison or court or something, so that they wouldn't extradite him to Belize. And then oh fuck, what was the other one? There was like, and then like in 2016 during the campaign, he was supposed to be at the New Orleans convention, and he was supposed to do the debate with Austin Peterson and Gary Johnson, and he had to call out of that. And I believe like we got 3 different stories about what was going on, because right at that time the Panama Papers had been released, and so one of the stories that like was told was that he couldn't come to the debate because he was being interviewed by the government about like revelations of the Panama Papers. And then like when we talked to him, he was like, I had the flu. Like so like that's the thing. I love John to death, but like he had all of these fucking like stories and experiences that like they were kind of the wildest things. Like he would tell stories to me and I'd be like, God, how much of this is true? I want to know, but I also love the mystery of not knowing. Like
Of not knowing what it is.
It's you know, like I know Santa Claus isn't real. I don't think God is, but like I don't know if what of John McAfee's stories is real. Like there is one thing to have faith in.
Well, there's like when he told us, we asked him where he was because he didn't make the vice presidential debate.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when he was like, I was on a 3-day meth binge. Do you think I want to go to a fucking vice presidential debate? Yeah. And I was like, probably not. But see, like with that, I think that maybe he was slipping because I think that was true.
No, I think that was true. He seemed like he was coming down off of something in our interview, or was back on it at that point.
Like, but the thing is that like for John, it could have been that he was on a drug binge, but you know, he told you it was meth, but it was really, you know, like it could have just been like the same, like, oh no, I just got really, really drunk and stoned. Who knows? Yeah. Like I never saw him do meth in all of 2016, but that doesn't mean he didn't. I just didn't see it.
Yeah, no, he was drinking a 5th of, I believe, Jack Daniels.
Yes. Yeah. Some kind of liquor. Yeah.
And it was pretty much gone by the end of it. And it was only an hour long. And mind you, while my show did air in the evening, McAfee made us do it at like 9 a.m. or something. It was really early and made us do it on Zoom to have it recorded. Because, you know, he was being tracked by the US government. James Ray here just corrected me. It was actually Jameson.
Oops, Jameson. Right. Yeah.
Jameson. Right. And it was almost gone by the time we finished in an hour in the morning.
Yep.
I'd like to point out, wait 1 second. The fact that you said Jack, but it was Jameson, that is also an example of disinfo. Just don't correct it. Okay, James? Like this is disinformation. It was, you know, like I don't care what you saw. It was Jack Daniels. Anyway, sorry, Spike, I interrupted you.
And it was a keg. It wasn't just a 5th. It was a keg of Jack Daniels. And it was,
this is it.
Yeah.
I told Spike yesterday that he was going to have to fill John McAfee's shoes now and pick out a nice, pretty whale. And look at him, though. He's already doing it. He's already saying, no, it was a keg. It wasn't a 5th. Yep. You're doing a good job. Have you picked out your whale?
If that's what you meant by picking out a whale, I'm very relieved. I was concerned.
No, I wasn't. I was talking about a whale.
Yeah. No, if the world needs me to take up John's mantle with the whole thing with the whales, that's...
Do you think that that's true? Like he literally said that he had wrote a letter to the Olympic Commission or whatever the organization is, and he had the exact information for this commission. And
he said who he contacted. Yeah,
he contacted them to tell them that they needed to include whale fucking as an Olympic sport because it's way harder than like that stupid like luging shit. And that the reason why they don't is because they're racist against Polynesian people. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because they would obviously win.
They'd win that because they're good at that.
That was true. But I loved participating in every minute of it.
He said all of the sports were geared towards things that well-heeled white people do. You know, here's a sport that the Islanders are naturally inclined towards. And they're being robbed of their ability to represent their country to the world.
Maybe his death was just another elaborate excuse to hide the fact that he went on a bath salt bender.
Oh my God.
What if he's actually alive? Like,
I prefer that story.
I like that story.
10 years from now. Yeah. 10 years from now, he pops
and that he's just living his life as like a Spanish bath salt maker. I mean, wow. I don't see why not. And that would totally be exactly what he would do. I mean, he's gotten the media to tell his lies before. Everyone thinks, and I thought this too, and I literally perpetuated this information quite a few times. I had read everywhere that he got arrested for wearing his wife's thong as a mask. And, you know, we talked about it in the second episode with him. And, you know, he showed us how he wears it. But then I saw everywhere, just actually recently looking up this information about his death. That's actually not even true. He was never arrested.
This is John.
We don't know. Avens, there was a story you talked about briefly in a post, and I was hoping you can maybe expand upon it a little, about how when you had first met him, that you were kind of giving him, you know, your take. He was sort of basically asking, what is libertarianism? You know, what is the libertarian position on X, Y, and Z? And you kind of gave the made up response to libertarianism, would you be willing to kill people over this? And that from there you saw him kind of adopt that into his personal ethos. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, it was funny because it was like another kind of like fundraiser gathering thing, you know, just a bunch of people like hanging out, and we were talking about the campaign and stuff like that. And so we were just kind of like shooting around, you know, just like we talked briefly about the cyber party because that was like what he ran under first. And then, you know, and he was like, yeah, no, I mean, but like libertarianism, the more I get to know about it, like, yeah, this is my philosophy. And, you know, and he'd had a couple of conversations with people, like, you know, Judd had talked to him about what libertarianism, you know, what the different issues and the just general concept was. Right. But we just, you know, like we were just, you know, sitting there on a couch, like having a drink. And I started kind of diving into like what the non-aggression principle was. And also, you know, I was like, you know, it's like Penn Jillette said once, you know, like when I consider a law, I just decide like, would I be willing to kill for this? Because the fact is, like, you know, any law, no matter how minor, whether it's taxing cigarettes in New York City, you know, can lead to someone's death, like Eric Garner, because of the enforcement, you know, of those laws. And so, you know, I was explaining this concept to him, and, you know, and he was like, no, that makes sense. And it just, you know, it's funny because it's like, I feel like sometimes a lot of libertarian philosophy is like one of those things where it's like you get it explained to you and you realize you've always known it. You know, it's like, it's one of those like things where it's you're just like, yeah, like, whoa, you know, of course. And so he kind of had like a little bit of that moment. And this isn't the first time that like these specific things had necessarily been, or these general concepts have been described to him. I mean, he joined our party, but I think it like kind of just, it hit him in just the right place, right? Just the right time and just the right words that he just like, I just watched him kind of absorb it and go like, yeah, no, that makes sense. And then it was like, if he was a computer, you just added a new, a new if then cycle to the, you know, programming. Right. And so like then it was crazy because after that he would, you know, like I saw him, one of the best examples of this was I saw him at like the debate that he and Gary Johnson and Austin Peterson did in Vegas with Penn Jillette as the moderator. I just watched, like, we didn't go over all these things, and I wasn't the only person working on this, but there were a lot of people that had like kind of, you know, briefed him on like you know, how like what the libertarian concept of this is. But it was funny because like he'd get like thrown a question that he hadn't practiced. He didn't know, like no one had said, hey, this is the position on this thing. But I would watch him like hear it. And like, it was like, you know, comes in his ear, goes through the filter, spits out liberty. Like, it was so cool. It was like, hey, I have everything I need to do this. And it's funny because, like, you know, I have that filter in my head. Like, if somebody brings up a concept to me that I've never considered, I go like, in my ear, think, apply, nap. Like, you know, I just like, and then I spit out, you know, my most libertarian response.
The libertarian answer, right?
I feel like a lot of our politicians, a lot of people who get up and speak about liberty, I feel like they don't have that filter in their brain. And I feel like one of the people that consistently does is you, Spike. And I feel like I helped John install his. Like, I just, you know, like, and then he couldn't uninstall it because, of course, it was McAfee software.
Well, yeah, actually, for people who don't know, because I have a lot of normies that watch my show. Sorry, smoking weed. John McAfee wasn't just a legendary libertarian. He was the creator and founder of McAfee Antivirus, which most people's computers are pre-installed with. So that's where he got his start. He is no longer affiliated with, obviously now, but before his death was no longer affiliated with McAfee Antivirus. Why are you looking at me like that with disappointment, Spike?
No, I just was trying not to laugh at it. He sold it back in the early 2000s, I believe, and then that's when he moved to Belize and all that. He had gotten out of McAfee software a while back and was independently wealthy off of that, and then involved in a bunch of other things. It's very interesting to see someone who, I remember having him on my show in the first time I ever talked to him was 2019, November of 2019, like a couple days after I had decided that I was going to run for the vice presidential nomination, but before I had actually announced, because I decided I was going to do it almost a month to the day before I actually announced in December. And so I have him on my show, and I'm not telling anyone. Like, literally at this point, it's just me and my wife and a handful of people on Team Supreme, including Vermin and like 3 or 4 other people who knew I was going to announce. And while I'm interviewing him, and again, at this point, he's running for the 2020 nomination, even though he was kind of not running for it because his thing was don't vote for John McAfee, don't vote for anyone or whatever. But then he said, yeah, I'm still running for the nomination. Like, he wasn't really clear on that. I remember listening to this man talk about all sorts of things and thinking, this might end up being my running mate. Like, this could end up, like, I could end up having, this could be the guy that could be the running mate. And so, the more that I read about him, the more I was like, man, this guy is, I don't think there's anyone else who's, maybe Howard Hughes or something. Like, I'm not sure I know many other people who went through the kind of series of character arcs that he did. It's actually pretty incredible.
Have you guys seen, it's on Netflix and it has 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, one of the only ones that I've seen with 100% rating. He has a documentary about his life, Gringo. And it is very interesting. And my favorite part, of course, is when they went to the Libertarian National Convention in 2016 to, go and find John McAfee. He was the least weird person that was profiled in the documentary. Hookers and blow party, and he was the normal one.
He was the normal one. Yeah. He was the normal guy there. Sure. Yeah. I actually watched Gringo the night before. I binge watched Gringo the night before I interviewed him, which is a big mistake. That was a big mistake, because I went in there like, I don't know what's about to happen. And then he appeared and I'm like, and then we did the interview, and it was funny. So he showed, and now I know what this is like, because I asked if he could show up 5 to 10 minutes before the show started. Now I do this to people. He showed up. If our interview had to be at, let's say, 2:00, he was there at 1:59 and 35 seconds. And I said, okay, we're about to go live. He's like, okay. I'm like, do you have any questions? He's like, no, I don't even know what we're doing. I'm like, okay, great. And we just started doing it. And we just started, I said, okay, things are going to happen, and just don't say anything until I introduce your name. He's like, that's all I was going to do anyway. I'm like, all right, perfect. And that was like, and we went off, and it was only about a half hour, 40-minute long episode. It wasn't a long one, but it was, I just remembered like the whole time I was talking to him. So if anyone watches after, if you look up My Fellow Americans, Spike Cohen, John McAfee, you can find it. The whole time watching my face, just realize that I'm just sitting there going, what if this ends up being my running mate and I have to go around the country explaining why he should be our next president? Like, that was literally all I was thinking. That was the mantra in my head the whole time when we were talking. I'm like, I might have to tell America that we have to vote for this guy for president. It might be what's happening.
I think, honestly, I loved McAfee with the thought of him being president. McAfee, before even joining this party, was such a libertarian that he was the libertarian before he was even one. And I actually did petition, and I let him know this. I think I've told him this twice. Petition the LNC to get, when they were doing the mascot thing, to make the mascot actually just his face. because he is literally the epitome of libertarianism. And even when they were trying to make him look bad in that documentary, everything he was doing and the things they said about him, like, was pretty libertarian. Like, he didn't call the cops when his neighbor killed his dog. He killed his neighbor. Like, fuck it. He didn't, he didn't just get a sex worker. He married one.
Allegedly. Well, the sex worker thing, yeah, but the other.
Yeah.
No, maybe Janice was actually like a high scale corporate lawyer. Like maybe that's all made up too. Like,
oh wow,
maybe,
like none of that's true.
Like Janice is actually like she used to work for the firm of some waspy name plus some Jewish name. Like it just
something Cohen.
Something and Cohen. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, she was a prostitute. She's like, yeah, sure was.
It's not even just a prostitute. She's a black prostitute that's like 30 years younger than him.
I mean, if we're gonna,
God, Spike! You
like,
are
listen
into John McAfee. Except Tasha's not a prostitute.
Wait, she's not, and she's older than me.
She doesn't look older than you. She tells me that she's older than you all the time.
Not my fault. It doesn't my fault that I age like
when you were 4.
I age like cheese, and that's not my fault. Okay, it's not my fault that my wife looks considerably younger than me and is actually older than me. But
you're literally John McAfee. I'm just saying you're filling your shoes perfectly. What whale are you going to choose to fuck?
I'm not. I just want to be friends with the whales. I just want to be.
And you want to be friend zoned by the whales?
I want to be friend zoned by the whales. I'll friend zone the whales. I don't even care. I respect. It's not me. It's not them. It's me. It's not the whales. It's me. I don't want the whales.
You have to fill a whale of a hole.
That's.
Oh. Okay. Wait. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a second though because we talked about Gringo and
no, don't tell me Usyks.
Because we talked about Gringo though, what I love is like a lot of people saw that documentary and then immediately reached out to Judd and I are like, did you know that this happened, that John did this, blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, this is a sensationalist documentary, and I'm sure John went a lot, John was probably thrilled with half of it, but one of the other things that happened is after that documentary went out, they John and some people went out on John's behalf. I think I remember this, they went and found all of those people who had been interviewed and then basically interviewed them saying, oh no, I was totally paid to say that. So all these testimonials about what John did at that time, could have been true, could have not been true. Also, John then came in, interviewed them, they said they were paid. Maybe they were paid, but who the fuck knows? And I love how chaotic it is. You have no idea what really happened. And that's John.
He got paid. He got paid to be in that documentary,
True.
Which means he signed off on it. And then he went, now I'm going to interview everyone to say it was all lies. And it's just so now you have no idea if he's telling the truth, if they're telling the truth, if anyone's telling the truth. It could all be fiction. It could be 100% true, somewhere in between. No one knows. And that's what's incredible about John.
Disinformation.
No, but I mean, it's hilarious because that has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So whatever he signed off on, literally is a 5-star fucking documentary. I mean, when I watched it, I was like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. I mean, I was being told shit about libertarianism I didn't even know.
Yeah, no, I did not. I walked away from that thinking, I don't know what is about to walk into with this interview. Also, I don't know if I want to run for the vice presidential nomination anymore. I don't know if this is, I don't know if I want that. And then after doing that interview, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. If he gets the nomination, I'm going to have a fun summer. So then instead the other thing happened. So, folks, the other thing happened. So, unfortunately, I do have to go, guys. I got to start getting ready. I'm going to be on a lesser podcast called Kennedy later. So I'm getting ready for that. If nothing else from this, let's resolve ourselves to end a system of extortion that led to a man who was in his 70s, who by all rights should have been by his wife's side, to die instead in a prison by himself. Like Avens said, is it worth killing for? Is it worth someone dying over? And if it's not, then it shouldn't be a law. It shouldn't be enforced. There has to be a better way. So I do appreciate everyone's time to watch this. And Avens, I love you, and Chrissy, I love you too. And I will talk with you all soon. If you want to check out this new podcast, it's called Kennedy. It's on this thing called Fox Business. That's at 8 later. But
it's actually the second largest Fox News channel.
It's on the second largest Fox News channel in cable. So we have that to look forward to. I love y'all. Bye, guys.
All right, bye, Spikel.
Oh, Kennedy, we love her.
Yeah, Kennedy knows us. I mean,
Kennedy knows me.
Well, probably, honestly.
I do know. Okay, she lives here, and like sorry, she's I've met her a number of times at like Reason stuff, like at like Reason Foundation stuff, and also Freedom Fest. So I like if he actually goes, hey, Avens O'Brien says hi, she will go. Avens. We had a conversation about her daughter's name because it's Pele, which like I was like, did you name your daughter after the Tori Amos album? Yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, so I will always be the girl that asked her about like a Tori Amos album in reference to her kid.
Well, I mean, honestly, if Spike wouldn't have just like did what do they call that? Like the Irish goodbye, maybe we could have said, make sure you say Avens said hi, but no.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
He had to get ready for like a couple million viewers? Yeah, no, I mean,
how many do we have? Like 4?
I mean, I have 3.5 because I'm sure one of them is very short. No, I mean, there's across the platforms, there's a little bit. It says on here 184, but I think that is it might be the total of all together. I'm not sure, but it's on like a few different like things. Unlike Fox Business, which is only on one channel. Okay, so are they on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously? I don't think so.
No.
No, but we are really proud of Spike for doing amazing. Holy shit, no one ever thought he'd get this far. I totally, myself and Caitlin and a bunch of us take the credit for memeing him to relevancy. So this is all because of us. So
yeah, 100%. He had nothing to do with it, really. Like he's just like a pawn of the entertainment industry, the libertarian entertainment industry that, has taken on
right.
I hear so much about the liberal media, but not enough people talk about the libertarian memification, like industrial complex. Like it's a huge
memification industrial complex paid for by the Koch brothers. Which I love when people accuse us of getting Coke money because I'm like, well, please, like, can we have some? And actually, the Cokes, there's the Coke now.
One of them is dead.
Only one of them is alive. The other one, is gone. But they're very like socially liberal. Like they're open borders. They're pro-sex work, ending the war on drugs, and I'm like, y'all would just actually agree with them if you didn't hate them because they're billionaires.
Well, and what's so funny is like people don't even realize like a bunch of people were like, oh, the Kochs, blah, blah, blah. Like the Kochs ended up putting a bunch of money towards like non-Trump Republicans in the 2018 cycle because they were upset because like one of the Koch's biggest issues, but like it's like, okay, deregulation, low taxes, that kind of stuff. But their biggest social issue is immigration. And like, it's a huge thing for them. And so being anti-immigration, just like, it's just a no sell for them. And so like, people are like, oh, did, the Kochs give a bunch of money to Trump? It's like, well, no, they didn't. They don't like to give money to anti-immigration Republicans. Like, and I mean, they still will like for, obviously it's fucking, this is why I hate the political system so much. I mean, of course it's like forced. There's, like the general libertarian ideas, but the fact that like, you end up in these situations where you'll be like, I really support like this one thing that this politician said, but if I give them money, I'm also giving them endorsement towards like all these other shitty things. So like I could be like, hey, I'm really excited that Ron Paul said this, or that Rand Paul said this, or that Tulsi Gabbard said this. But if I throw them some money, they're also going to like say terrible shit that I don't agree with, and I'm gonna be like, fuck. Like now it feels like I gave you tacit endorsement approval for these things. Yeah.
No, and I just think that's probably the best part about McAfee, because like whether you agree with him or not, I mean, he's coming from a very libertarian perspective.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, and it was, oh my God, he had such fun answers to things too. Cause like, so many libertarians, even, and like, this is another thing, is like, when you get into the like most consistent libertarian, like, people, like, so some of the most consistent libertarian people are really boring to listen to. They're always going to give a libertarian answer, but it's going to be dry as fuck and no one's going to give a shit. And one of the things I love about Spike, now that Spike's not here, I'm going to say really nice things about him, but
we only talk shit to his face.
Right? But like, one of the things I love about Spike is he tries to make, he'll talk about libertarian ideas, but he tries to, make them really like approachable and like, and something that you can like actually like get a mouthful of and swallow. Like, it's like so much libertarianism. Yeah, I know. I just felt like going there.
Sorry.
But yeah, he tries to make it very like accessible, and I love that about him. And I love John. John had so many things that like, instead of giving, like even when he had that filter, it's like, here's concept and then like, run through filter, give libertarian response. He also still managed to like make those libertarian responses really, John McAfee. And so like, I remember there was the debate in Vegas, and he was asked about like the transgender bill, the bathroom bill or something like that. And, and so like, he could have been going on, he could have done something about how like, well, the state shouldn't be dictating how a private business decides to use their bathrooms or whatever. Like he could have gone into like a really dry libertarian like space with that, which I think I feel like maybe Gary Johnson might have done that, but I don't remember what everyone else's response was. But what I remember is that John, instead of like, it was like, this is so stupid that like literally we're debating whether like this one state can pass a law to like make it so that people have to use the gendered bathroom of their birth certificate. Like it was such a ridiculous concept. And he was like, look, like when they asked him the question, he was like, I've been to third world countries where they piss on the side of the road. Why is this a question? Like it was so good, because it was like thank you for like making a new reframe perspective. You know what I mean? It's not like we as libertarians, we get into the fucking weeds on so much shit that like the practical world doesn't give a shit about. Like, we're talking about like we like fuck the messaging, we can have conversations about optics and messaging on Twitter of, certain state affiliates of the LP, like whatever you want to do. Like the thing is that most people aren't like thinking, like we get into this like broad concept, right? It's like libertarian, like, principle. And then we get into these like issues that like most people aren't thinking about at all. And it's like, so we need to comment on this issue, bring it to people's attention. Is it worth it? And also like people barely have an opinion about it to begin with. And then they have a very unnuanced opinion about it because they just knee jerk on it. And what I love is that John would just be like, this doesn't need, no, why are we talking about this? Like transgender bathrooms, or anti-trans discrimination, whatever. Like he was just like let people piss where they need to piss. Like we don't want them pissing on the street. Like,
it really is that simple. It's the government that makes it convoluted.
I loved that about him. Like he just had so many. Oh, he had so many good lines. Oh, if you ever want to like see John in like in a slightly formalized setting being like really clever, watch the interview, watch the debate that was done by Penn Jillette in Las Vegas in 2016. It is so worth it. Like they did a lightning round and fucking he just killed it. He was so funny.
He's brilliant. And again, I think it's that social, astuteness that he has. He's so he's very quick-witted, and he just knows where to take things and what to say that's going to keep his audience interested and entertained.
Yeah.
He's just a very entertaining guy. And, I keep saying it is, and, he is an entertaining guy. Like, and it's sad to say, he was an entertaining guy. Like, almost like Keith Richards, I thought that this motherfucker was going to live forever and forever escape the U.S. government. Yeah. Like, he was trying to run for president in 2020 from a boat, POTUS on a BOTUS. Like, he was sending people masks of his face. And, running from the U.S. government, and I'm just like, I guess in a sense, you start to think that this person's like immortal, and he's not immortal, and no one's immortal, and if we don't, come together and stop the petty fucking bickering, we can't end the tax system, and we can't stop people like good old McAfee right here from dying.
Yeah.
People are dying. Don't cry. We said only drugs, no emotions.
No, all drugs, just drugs. No, I like, and it's funny. So like, we can, there are so many theories about what really happened. Was he, did he just die in prison and they said he committed suicide? Did he commit suicide? Did he, was he taken out and by whom? Right. And it's just, it's what I appreciate is that like, John said he was going to fight and like, and that, he like, and all indications by people that I know that are close to him is, regardless of all the public tweets or whatever else, like that he seemed to be in it for the long run. Like he was planning on fighting this. And so I don't know. But he had just gotten the news, or I'm assuming he had gotten the news of that Spain had agreed to extradite him. But with everything he did post, like it is also like it's totally possible that he was taken out. It's totally possible that he was like that he just died in prison because it's like that does happen to a 75-year-old man. Or 3, like it's entirely possible that he was like, you know what, fuck it, like let's leave some chaos behind. Like I just told everyone I wouldn't commit suicide and then I did. Like that is 100% also on brand for John McAfee. Like we've established. I mean, as I said, like there's the stories he's told, like I make a joke sometimes about how like much of my life has been me looking at 2 different decisions and deciding like 2 different choices I can make and going like, what's going to make a better story later? And like, I've done that a lot in my life, but I like to think that I've gone like, oh, what's going to make a better story in my like long life arc. Right. And I feel like John is much more like, what's going to make a better story on CNN? Like, it just, I feel like John's lived a lot of his life like that. And I respect the hell out of it. But so I literally have no idea. Like, if
but
I
that's
find
what he wants.
Yeah.
He wants you to have no idea what's real or not. Because he's creating, if he can't convince you of a reality, he's going to make you not believe in any reality because you can't make that decision.
I love how I just have extreme faith and extreme non-faith thanks to John McAfee.
Yeah.
I believe in one thing as John McAfee.
What was that? Sorry.
I believe in one thing, and it's John McAfee. Sorry.
Yeah, I really do. And, and a lot of people thought, especially the LNC, that all told me that they would, like most of them, like 90% of them told me that they would absolutely vote to make him the mascot. I think they thought I was kidding because then they didn't. They voted for that fucking porcupine. And I mean, I was not kidding. He is the epitome of libertarianism. He was as kind as he was crazy. He was, as eccentric as he was laid back. He was, literally the extreme of every single adjective you can find. And that includes libertarianism. And he's definitely going to be missed. His influence is going to be missed. I mean, a lot of people, they might not really know of him too much in libertarian circles, but they do remember, everyone remembers his 2016 videos. I think Judd was Judd making those? Judd made those.
Judd made all those videos.
Yeah. So first of all, we need to bring him back into this shit so he can do our shit for us again.
Well, thankfully we do have Daniel Smott did the videos for women. And
he does those in like a day.
Yeah, no, because he's an amazing video editor. Like Judd is not a Judd is not a video editor by trade of any kind. So like every video that he made took him so long because he was working on the curve of trying to learn how to edit video at the same time. It was so good,
so powerful. Like it made your heart move.
I like to think that it's like Judd made those videos for John. He showed like a different way that this that libertarianism could be articulated in those videos. And he did like a whole series. I don't know if you saw them all. Like, I mean, a lot of people saw Vote Different, but like he even did a whole like really esoteric series about the whole like the truce. Like, how about we vote to have a truce and not bully our neighbors for 4 years? Like he has this beautiful thing that's based on like the Christmas truce or whatever. But Hold on a second. It's funny. I told Judd he should come in here if he's free, and I don't know if he just suddenly was, because I heard his door. You want to pop in? Anyway, but those videos, I feel like those videos very much inspired, like Daniel Smott in the way that he did the videos for Vermin and for Joe, and I think that and a number of the people on the Vermin team had been on the McAfee 2016 team. So
I don't know if you're frozen or if I'm frozen.
Did my internet just go out, or did you just freeze?
Am I frozen? You're like
knock knock. You were.
I don't know what's going on. My son might have just turned on his Xbox so he can yell about fucking their moms or something, but who knows? I live in Ohio. You live in LA. Yours is definitely better than mine. Okay, so people are saying
I do live
on
in
that
spot
end. Yeah, does Judd want to pop in and say anything about him?
Hold on one second. I'm going to ask him right now. If you want to pop in, Chrissy wants you.
That sounds kinky.
Say hello. Right.
Well, just give him like a chance. If you even just for like a second, if he wants to just say like how he feels. I love exploiting people's emotions, I guess, when their friends pass away. I guess that's just the kind of person I am. But if he wants to, maybe give his favorite story about him, because you guys were so close to him. You guys are probably the closest people I personally know. I personally know you. I don't really know Judd, but I personally know you. You're probably the closest person to McAfee that I know. And I think it's just interesting to hear, from people that know him or knew him. I mean,
there are people who knew him better, more recently, because after the 2016 campaign, I saw him at a bunch of things, and I message him periodically and say, hey, so and so wants to get in touch about this thing, and facilitate that. But I hadn't had a conversation with him in a couple of years, and it just it's sad because it was because John was always good for a really, really entertaining conversation.
Oh my gosh!
Also a deep conversation. John was just he was, if anyone else was in the room, it was going to be an entertaining conversation, but John was actually capable of getting into the weeds on things. And I know so many stories of people who would who would say that they talked to him, they told him their story, and then they started crying and he cried with them. There's these beautiful fucking stories because John just really he loved other people, and he really you could see that in the way that when he would have a one-on-one with somebody, he was just a love.
Yeah. Honestly, we had to do a reaction video when we were done with our interview with him, our first one. And and Jess even, I think she made a meme of my face because my face was just I just stunned. What is he saying? And because it was as crazy as it was intelligent. It was just it literally blew our minds, especially when it was 9 a.m. And we're just sitting there listening to him oh my gosh. And we didn't even ask him any of the questions that we were planning on asking besides the whale fucking, of course, because I had to know that. But we didn't even ask him the questions because we were let's just let him lead this. We're in our private chat on the side. Let's just let him go. Because there was nothing else you could say. He's saying things that no one's ever heard. And at the same time, it's smart and it makes sense. And, having him try on a thong on his face. And the second one was he knows what he's doing, man. He knew what he's doing. And that's why, I was talking to my husband about, how there was people that were half and half, what actually happened. And, I was telling him it's kind of hard for me to believe that someone killed him because I don't think anyone could kill John except for himself. Who's gonna kill him? He's a badass. He was a badass, that's for sure. And his wife's a badass, and I feel really sorry for her, and she has to deal with this, and at the same time she has to deal with people asking her and people bringing her into the whole mix of what really happened. And I'm thinking, let's give her a couple days to even process the loss.
I mean, she's also, I think she's still in, I believe, Europe, evading the government because they went for her too.
She's, she joined the life of John McAfee.
Right. And I mean, it's so funny. Like, she really is like, she's his ride or die bitch. Like, she's totally like, oh God, Janice is just fucking down for everything. I love the shit out of her. Like, I'm immediately, like, it's crazy because like I woke up yesterday and like, I had like 57 messages, text messages, Signal messages, Facebook messages, people tagging me in the thing on Facebook. Like, I woke up to like literally hundreds of them, but like I think there was like literally like my notifications on my like literal messenger were like 57 new like thing. I was like, fuck. And it was crazy because I saw it, I like, clicked on one of the headlines, I like read through, I was like, shit. And and people were trying to get me to reply, and I was like, I'm just going to text Janice. Like, so, like the first thing I did was I texted Janice, and I remembered that she might be out of the country. So like she's out of the country. And so I was like, maybe that text message won't go through. Like, I don't know. So I then immediately like messaged her on Facebook, and she hasn't read it. And like, and I don't know what's going through her mind. But the first day I was like, this isn't about me. This is about like, how is Janice doing? Like, how is Janice doing? I know that Janice can take care of herself. I know that Janice is a badass and lots of things, but like, that loss in numerous ways is just, it's,
that's her husband. Like, I mean, to love a man like John McAfee takes a lot of fucking love. And to do the things, to travel with him everywhere while evading the US government, all of that stuff, that takes a lot of love. And, I know there's been some, their story is also, kind of a wave, up and downs, but they obviously really loved each other. And for her to lose her husband suddenly like this, is heartbreaking. And, I'm hoping people are giving her time and respect and not dragging her into messes about this stuff until she's ready. 'Cause she'll let us know. She'll respond. She'll let people know. And, hopefully she's doing okay. People were asking about like if there was some like a GoFundMe or something to bring him back, or would some kind of anything financially. And I don't know if people remember this, but McAfee was a millionaire. So but if there is anything, Avens would probably know about it, or maybe I'll hear about it, and I will definitely let people know how they can help out Janice. But probably the best way we can help her now is just to keep the memory of her husband alive and not drag her into our conspiracy theories.
No, I think that Janice busted him out of prison. No,
right? Like, what if she did? What if she did? Like, what if she did? Because what if she actually wasn't a prostitute? What if she was a CIA like agent? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. I gotta say, like, I think my favorite, it's like most of this, I mean, it's been sad and it's been funny, it's like, me, I'm like, God, fucking, like, John's like gone. And that, like, that makes me really sad. And then also like, sorry, my fucking phone is good. No, deny. But like, John's gone, and that's sad. And then I start thinking of the memories of him, and that's generally funny. And then there's like touching memories, whatever. But then I was like thinking about like, I went on Facebook, and there's, conspiracy theorists that, oh, he definitely was killed by the government. He knew something, blah, blah, blah. And, we'll see, like he claimed to have like a data drop or whatever. So we'll see. But it's like the time will tell. These things will play out. But it's like, it is 100% on brand for John to also like, just, like, facilitate the craziest stories possible, and then do something that triggers all those stories. So this, like, him possibly killing himself, like, like, on one side of things, it's like, I don't want justice to be denied if there was something sketchy going on. I also I want to believe that John wouldn't wouldn't kill himself, because I want to think that he would like keep going, but at the same time, like I would respect it if it's, if it's on his terms, like good for you, man, like, fucking show him, like it's like a lot of mixed emotions about like what not just what is true, but what I wish was true, you know what I mean? And what I wish was true is that he, Janice had broken him out of prison, and he's like going, and like they're going over to take over some island, and and somewhere. But what I love is that I posted on Facebook, and I was like, all right, guys, like, give me your craziest John McAfee theories, like wrong answers, right answers, whatever. And I love, like, everyone kind of came together to start commenting, like, he actually, like, he died of an previously unknown whale STD, like, just like
he would
like,
love to read that thread.
Right? Like, and that's what I thought. I was like, John would love this. John would love reading this thread. John would love like answering these, like, and it's just so John. So I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's my memorial to him. I do think we're talking about maybe hosting a memorial here in LA for him. So I'm not sure with what's going to happen with that, when that would be. But
we should do that sometime between the 4th and the 10th.
I'll see what we can do. But yeah, I just, it's like, I don't, how best to remember John. It's like, remember John was kind. Remember John was a fucking batshit crazy motherfucker. Remember John was smart. Remember, John, John wasn't a saint. John had all sorts of things about him that were, there are things that were probably less than savory about John. And I'm not even, I'm not going to like go into them, but we can also accept this, that people can be flawed and have problems and not be consistent characters. Cause he sure as hell wasn't a consistent character. But like, he had an amazing impact on my life. Like, you like just doing the podcast with him, you fucking, I know he had like an impact, he entertained lots and lots of people. He inspired Judd in ways to bring out those videos, which has, like avalanche to more creative ways of articulating libertarianism, through like Vermin's campaign and Joe's campaign and other, artists and people trying to do something good. And it's like, he's, his impact is like had waves, and I'm really proud of him. And so what are our craziest theories about what happened to John McAfee? Like, come on, we need to, like, I was thinking yesterday that maybe John actually was the one who carried Sam as Sam carried Frodo up like Mount Doom to like get rid of the One Ring. And he's like the unsung hero of Lord of the Rings, but nobody knows that. And because on the way out, actually, he got hit by like some volcanic rock that just, hit him. And so, like Sam and Frodo got rescued by the Eagles, but like John saved Middle Earth and no one knows. Yeah. So
I can't even top that. Like, I have to get far more high. I mean, damn, mine was just gonna be drugs, but fuck it. But that's like, it's fun to theorize like about all the like the crazy shit it could have been happening. But the craziest part is that any of them could be true.
Yeah.
Even that story could be true. Who knows? Because he is so wild. So what we should all do is continue to live in his wild ways and his libertarian ways. Maybe not as quite as often. Maybe
they
just
can't
like
stop us if we all do it. They can't stop us if we all do it. They can't
stop us all. If we all make our own bath salts, what are they gonna do? And I mean, because most people, when they want to make their own, intoxicants, they'll make moonshine, they'll brew beer, they'll grow pot. No. Go full McAfee. You invent, hire a chemist like he did, and make your own fucking bath salts.
My favorite theory is that John killed himself because someone asked him to be chair of the LNC.
Oh my god. That was amazing. That's probably true. I mean, I was even thinking like maybe he did it so that way everyone would stop arguing for a minute because we'd all be focused on theorizing.
That's John brought us all together. Like that was John's final sacrifice. He died for our sins. He's like, all right, like, I'm sorry, this is inside baseball, but like fucking John McAfee's climbing up on some cross, and he's just like, all right, Karen Harlos, be quiet. Jared Hall, be quiet. John Phillips, be quiet. George Bishop Henchman, what the hell? Like, it's just like just yelling everybody's name, and he's just like, I'm getting up on this cross, and it is time to die, so that you all shut the fuck up for like 5 fucking minutes. Like, just stop. Stop with all this shit. Stop with your resignation letters. Stop with your calls for resignation. Stop with your shit. Like who the fuck cares? New Hampshire? No, you need an investigative committee for me, motherfuckers. Like, that's John right there. Like, that's John.
He's like, no one's paying attention to me. I'm gonna make it happen my way. And he sure as fuck did. And now we have all something else to argue about. Did John really kill himself? Did he not kill himself? And what all that matters is that he was killed by the U.S. government, regardless, because he was in jail for evading taxes and on victim
taxation is theft.
Absolutely, and taxation is theft of life, and like we lost a life to taxation. And the best way to honor John, I think, is just to fight to end that system. And he loved drugs so much, so I'm going to pledge that I will make sure that I work on legalizing all drugs, and I'm getting there. I'm on like multiple cities with weed so far. I'm starting small.
I'm working on psilocybin here in California. We're doing a decrim psilocybin initiative. We have hopefully decriminalization of possession of psilocybin might actually pass like via the assembly and the Senate, the state Senate. Actually, there was a bill that passed that would be specifically about possession of, and then we're looking at a decrim bill or decrim ballot initiative for 2022 that would be actually decriminalizing it for sale and for cultivation and sale.
That's amazing. You're doing the Lord's work, and a lot of people think, oh, what, you guys just want to go trip on some shrooms, bro? And no, like this has actual kind of like actual things for your brain. I mean, Avens might be doing it for that reason, but but it actually does. It helps release your brain. It helps open your mind. It really does help with depression and anxiety and PTSD. So it's literally saving lives by legalizing these drugs. And even if it was just fun as fuck to do and didn't have any good qualities and only just bad qualities, it should still be fucking legal. Because like Avens said, would you kill for it? Would you kill someone because it's illegal? And that's what it is when you make a law against something, you are literally signing someone up to die because you don't want them to do it. And what is important to you, their life, or that you don't want them to do stuff to their own body?
Yeah. One of the big things I like to tell people about, like, let's say psilocybin or even weed or just anything like that, is like there's the medicinal movement, there's the recreational movement. The two movements often do not work well together. But I like to tell people, it's like, look, like, you can do, and, most of these drugs, like most of the drugs that we're talking, like most psychedelics and marijuana are they can be used recreationally, they can be used medicinally. And we also need to stop pretending that recreation isn't also in some way medicinal. Like, it is therapeutic to have fun. Like, it is therapeutic to be in pleasure. Like people don't think of that. People are like, oh, well, if you're having fun, it's not medicine. And it's like, fucking like these things that we enjoy, like, they are medicine for our souls. And so, you can go and be like, I want to like cure my depression with psilocybin, but I promise you that it's both the part of the cure of the depression is also it's a fun drug to take. Like, and I feel like I really I could campaign on this all day long, but like the recreational is in fact medicinal, because like it is good for your soul to enjoy yourself. So that's my spiel.
That's like, I've never even thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. I have much more fun when I'm not depressed, and I'm not depressed when I'm having fun.
Yeah. Right.
So with that, I'm sorry Judd doesn't love us. He's doing important stuff.
He's trying to legalize psilocybin in this state. We're actually talking with the Decrim organization about a fundraiser. Wait, what days are you going to be in town?
So July 4th through the 10th, I'm going to be in LA. We're going to be in Long Beach. We're going to Santa Monica. And then I think we're going somewhere else around LA. I don't remember exactly, but
I think we're throwing throwing a fundraiser for Decrim on the 17th, I believe. I'm sorry.
Well, I still want to come and see your super fancy fucking house. I promise I will wear like a dress. I'll make Brandon wear a suit. I feel like we have to wear that when we come to your house. For people who don't know, Avens' house is like amazing. You live in the Beverly Hills, right?
I live in Bel Air.
Bel Air, which is even fucking just super fancy. She lives in a mountain, like literally, like her house is in the mountain, and like everything is just around, and it's just a beautiful home, and it's super fancy. And she hosts fundraisers for fancy people. And so when I go to LA, I'm going to make sure I have my finest outfit. I'll have my pinky up. Brandon will be in a three-piece suit with, a bow tie. And we're going to come and visit you and smoke your drugs.
Yeah, we'll be happy to help you out with that.
Yeah.
But no, you when you're in LA, no matter what, I mean, yes, you can come see my house, but I can also just show you much cooler things in Los Angeles.
Okay. Well,
there are other really cool things.
I'll come and hang out with you, and like you can show me cool things. That would honestly be really cool. You should just let me know like what day during then you're free, and we'll make it happen.
All right, I'll do that.
But thank you so much for coming on here and talking about your stories. And I know that it's like when someone you love and admire and respect passes away, it's really hard to talk. I mean, especially it's been like 24 hours. So I appreciate you coming on here and getting to be silly and talk about the fun things that he was.
Yeah.
And, instead of people focusing on the bad things or focusing on conspiracy, we here at the whatever the fuck the show is called today, we got to talk about like the cool, fun, and the silly things, because that is ultimately the biggest part of his personality.
Yeah, no, John was a legend. He was legendary, and let's keep that legend alive.
Yeah, and let's live like McAfee. Let's go balls to the wall and fucking change the world. It'll be fun. All right. Thank you so much, Avens. I appreciate you. Thanks everyone for watching. Kisses to everyone. There we go.